To help me with that, I would love to welcome the President of Angkatan Belia Islam Malaysia, ABIM, Mr. Muhammad Faisal Abdul Aziz, for our closing speech. Please welcome Mr. Muhammad Faisal.
A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Brother Firdaus, respected Guru Tan Sri Saimat Alba, distinguished speakers, diplomats, His Excellency Mr. Fahd bin Muhammad Kafur, Ambassador of Qatar in Malaysia, Her Excellency Amna Balok, High Commissioner of Pakistan in Malaysia, Datuk Ahmad Azam Abdul Rahman, Prof. Hashim Kamali, distinguished guests, and all participants in this conference. First of all, please allow me to extend our utmost gratitude to all, especially the distinguished panel speakers in making this event a success. This is a very important event, perhaps historical event in Malaysia, in establishing a new narrative or new way forward in terms of relationship between Malaysia and Afghanistan in the future. But anyway, the explicit objective that we are holding on to in this event or initiative, of course, for the sake of helping the people of Afghanistan, regardless of races, religions, genders, or political ideologies. So that's why ABIM and GPM, we're trying to explore as many avenues as we can to help to rebuild Afghanistan. And of course, in many fields like education for women and children, local economic empowerment, humanitarian aids, and psychosocial support system. And just now mentioned by Brother Fahmi, our team, Alhamdulillah, have safely arrived in Kabul last Friday, but we cannot have air time with them due to certain circumstances. Guided by these principles that I mentioned, to save or to help the Afghan people. So it is timely for us and for the government of Malaysia in particular to take more proactive actions, especially in establishing contacts or engaging with the Afghan people or Afghan authority. For example, exploring more collaborative effort, and also not to isolate them. And I agree with Dr. Roy just now said, instead of isolating Afghanistan, we need to do something to help Afghanistan people by engaging with the ruling government. And I echo with Tan Sri Saimat Alba as well. It is a need for us to give time to the current ruling government to prove themselves and to stabilize the country instead of just isolating them and then giving more problems like the influx of refugees and so on. But of course, we have to be cautious when we talk about engaging with Afghanistan ruling government. It does not mean that we are all for whatever the current government is doing. So the balanced path that we can do is transparency. So for us, when we talk about engaging with the authority of Afghanistan, transparency matters. So when we talk about collaborative efforts between Malaysian government and Afghanistan authority, it need to be transparent enough. To what extent of collaborative effort that we want to do, the time frame, the framework, the objective, all have to be on the table so that people will know transparently, the engagement activism between Malaysian government and Afghanistan authority. Besides pointing out on the issue of peaceful coexistence, as what was discussed by, I think, Dr. Fadullah Bilmut, and also Sister Fauzia and Tan Sri Hamid as well pointed out just now. Malaysia and Afghanistan, we share the same religion, sentiments in terms of religion of Islam, and universally, I think all of us agree that Islam is a religion of peace, and I'm optimistic that we can promote the idea of peaceful coexistence together, at least by nurturing the interaction between scholars in Malaysia and Afghanistan. And in fact, now in Malaysia, we have Afghanistan scholars, prominent scholars. Prof. Hashim Kamali, he can play his role in promoting the idea of peaceful coexistence, Islam, to preserve the fundamental rights, the justice, and to celebrate diversity fairly, and so on. And apart from that, the most important thing that I want to highlight, Malaysia, we are sovereign country, we are independent country, and we are not bound at all to any external narrative, even in fact by superpower, regardless of China or US, in decision-making process, especially in establishing bilateral relationship with certain countries. So we are sovereign countries. We have our own autonomy to decide, and of course, I do believe that this principle is shared by our friend in Pakistan, Pakistan from Qatar, from Bangladesh, and many countries that is defined under the middle power countries. And Malaysia, I have to emphasize that we are middle power countries. Yes, of course, we are not superpower countries, but we are middle power countries. We have our own unique system, unique foreign policy, middle power foreign policy. And what is middle power foreign policy? Perhaps Hamid Alba can elaborate more. At least to be more proactive in reducing conflict in the world system. So under this spirit of middle power countries like Malaysia, and I do believe Qatar and our friends as well, we need to mobilize our effort. We need to chart our own narrative instead of being consumed by or being bound to the external or the superpower narrative in establishing relationship with the countries. And otherwise, as long as we are bound to the political game of superpowers, our effort to establish, to empower the international communities to uplift or uphold the international justice will remain stagnant. And at the same time, continuously marginalizing Afghanistan worsen many crises. The refugees issue will, and also apart from perpetuating regression, and of course, it doesn't help to fix our shared common ecosystem as an international community in the future. So, last but not least, it is hope. We really hope that this kind of conference on Afghanistan will shed some light and will give some enlightenment on the way forward, what we are going to do in the future to help Afghan people, and what kind of narrative that we want to build, as opposed to the political game or narrative played by superpower. And instead of just being wait and see due to overcautious sentiment. So inshallah, thank you very much. Thank you all who participated in this event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.